I spent 4 years making a 3D animated series. Some of you who are watching this have likely already watched that series. For those of you that haven't, you can watch it right now. All 10 episodes are currently available on my channel. I would really appreciate it if you checked them out, as a lot of effort was put into them. The reason I'm making this video is because I want to talk about why I decided to make the series, and my motivations behind it. In order for you to understand why I made this series, I need to give some backstory. For those of you that have watched me for a while, you probably know that I've always been a big Halo fan. I got into the games a lot later than everyone else though, since the parents I had were the type of parents that wouldn't let me play the games until I met the age certificate. However, when I was 14, I ended up persuading them to let me buy Halo 1 and 2 by showing them a Halo triple pack, which includes the first 2 games that for some reason had a certificate of 12 instead of 16. I made them believe that the rating was lower because they deemed the certificate to be outdated, and that now they consider it to be okay for younger people. I didn't buy the pack itself because it was quite expensive, and instead bought Halo 2 pre-owned, and also bought Halo Combat Evolved Anniversary, which had just come out at the time. And that was how I started my Halo journey. I created this channel about a year later, and the first video I uploaded was part 1 of my walkthrough of Halo 4.
Hey guys, this is the Recon Jacob here, and this is my first ever YouTube video.
Yeah, my videos weren't exactly top quality back then. About 3 years passed. By this point, I tried many different things on the channel. I continued to do Let's Plays for a while, but apart from one Let's Play that actually did pretty well, no one really watched my videos. It wasn't until the end of 2015 that I would end up making a video that would get over 1.7 million views. If you try to watch that video now, you'll only get a 7-second clip of me talking and have no idea what the video was about. The reason for this is because I'm not very proud of that video. In this video, I talked about the top 5 worst gaming channels, in order to lessen the amount of hate the video would inevitably get.
Perfectly balanced, as all things should be.
I lied and said that I spoke to a lot of people and asked their opinions for who they thought were bad, when in reality this was just my own opinion. At the time, I thought this was the best video I had ever made, because this was the first time I ever did a lot of editing for one video. And to be fair, this video did play an important part in how much I learned how to edit, because up until that point, I didn't really have much idea for what I was doing. Let's Plays didn't really require that much editing. My channel would end up skyrocketing, and in about 2 months, I went from 2,000 subscribers to over 20,000 subscribers. It was from this point onwards that I would end up abandoning Let's Plays, and instead make commentary videos talking about trending topics. None of those videos ended up reaching anywhere near the amount of views as the first one did. But I did sort of have an active fan base and would often get between 5 to 10,000 views per video. Jumping forward to the middle of 2016, I found myself getting burned out trying to think of a trending topic to jump on. Even though my current audience was fairly active, I wasn't really getting any additional subscribers and just stayed stuck in the 20,000 area. I also just didn't enjoy making the videos, because I was becoming quite reliant on finding someone to criticize, and just jumping onto YouTube drama in general. I didn't want my channel to be known for doing this, so I decided that I wanted to make something related to a thing I love, and that thing was Halo. One thing that I noticed when playing any of the Halo games, or watching machinimas or anything else story-wise, the characters that normally receive development are just the Spartans. This is especially the case for machinimas because you could only play as Spartans and elites. With the stories in the actual games, sure there would be people like Cortana or Dr. Halsey and a few civilian characters that would get some development. And in Halo 3 ODST you could even play as some ODST characters and get to understand them. But one group of people in the UNSC that never got any sort of development were the Marines. In a really awful rap that I made, 14-year-old me actually explained pretty well how incompetent the Marines are.
The Marines and others will do rubbish without me. They'll just drop down dead. How? Well, they'll just run into battle and then get shot in the head.
Whenever playing the games, you would just see them doing something idiotic and often end up killing themselves or just do terribly in battle. This was surprising to me because they were the most numerous in the UNSC. I also felt like they had the most potential story-wise, since they were easily the most vulnerable and easy to kill, which makes the stakes a lot higher. And often the reason we come to love characters is because of their weaknesses, and their desire to overcome them. So then I thought to myself, what if I made my own story about them? So that's exactly what I did. I was really motivated to do this, as I was working towards making something that I genuinely wanted to put my heart and soul into. After talking to some people, I managed to find a suitable name for the show. That name was Halo Fireteam Expendable. I had to find a way to retrieve the assets from the game, and I did that by following tutorials on how to get them from Halo Custom Edition and import them into 3ds Max. The purpose of these videos was actually to teach you how to create your own maps for the game, not for animating at all, but it did the job nonetheless. I then looked up some tutorials on how to rig characters. It took me all day just to rig one of them, but I ended up saving a lot of time rigging the rest of them by just skin wrapping them onto the one I already did. So I had everything set up. Now I just had to make the actual episodes. This required doing a lot of different things. First I had to write the script for the episode, and then I found some voice actors that were more than happy to volunteer for the project. I also got some of my real life friends to voice act for it as well. Me and my friends in real life had no voice acting experience, but we did the best we could. Once the script was finished and I had everyone's lines, I started animating the scenes. The software was pretty intuitive, and over time I learned to get used to the software. I still had so much to learn about it, and my animation wasn't exactly top tier, but I felt like it was passable enough to tell the story I wanted to tell. Most of the music you hear in the series is also done by me. The only piece you hear that I had nothing to do with is the opening music of episode 1, which was done by the Synthetic Orchestra, which states on their website that you can use their music when you follow the requirements they ask you to follow, which I made sure to do. Every other piece of music was made by me. It was either a cover of the piece in the Halo soundtrack, or a completely new piece of music. Sometimes I would pay a guy named Daros's Musica to make the notes sound more realistic, but he wouldn't change the melodies in any way. The music isn't mind-blowingly good by any means, but it served the purpose well enough in order to get the timings for when certain moments happen in the series. Once all of this was done, I would put everything together and edit it, and would add all the sound effects. For episode 1, Brony Burning Axe, the voice for Tom and some of the other characters, actually did the sound design, because at the time I wasn't very good at it. So a huge thank you to him for doing that. But from episode 2 onwards, all of the sound design was done by me. This was probably the most tedious part of making an episode. All of this stuff was basically the process I followed for every episode. Each script I wrote was for one episode at a time. This is a decision I partially regret, because it meant that there was no planning when it came to the writing, and I basically made things up as I went along. It sort of worked out in the end, and I think I ended up managing to keep the story consistent for the most part. However, I really ought to have had some kind of plan for the series. This is definitely something I'm going to make sure that I do for season 2. I'm going to do everything I can to make sure that the writing is a lot better, and improve the series in many other aspects as well. The amount of time it took me to finish each episode varied a lot. On average, it took me about 3 to 4 months to finish an episode. Episode 3 was quite a short episode, and I ended up completing that in only a month. Episode 8 actually took such a long time to finish, because the laptop I was making all these episodes on broke while I was midway through making the episode. I tried taking the laptop to 2 different repair shops. The first repair shop managed to repair it, but did a sloppy job of it because it broke again after 2 days. I then took it to a different repair shop and they tried to repair it, and they thought they did it correctly, but when actually giving it to me it was still broken, so they didn't charge me for it. In the end, I decided to finally get round to building my own PC for the first time, and this was a lot of fun. I then managed to transfer everything from the laptop onto the PC, which was quite a long process. But once this was done, it was so much easier to work on the animation, because everything was so much faster, and I was working on an actual desk. The funny thing is that out of curiosity, I opened the back of my broken laptop, and actually discovered that one of the RAM sticks were loose. Once I put it back in properly, the laptop was fully functional. So it turned out that the second company did indeed fix the laptop, but they must have just tested it before putting all the parts back in, and then never tested it after and just assumed it would work. Episode 8 ended up taking 8 months to finish from when I started it. Episode 9 then took about 3 months, and episode 10 ended up taking less than a month because by this point, I was really motivated to finish the series after being this close. Overall, as I said at the beginning of the video, the series as a whole ended up taking a total amount of time of roughly 4 years. That was way more time than I have ever invested into anything in my entire life. But frankly, I do not regret it a simple bit. Through all its ups and downs, making a series just felt so rewarding, and I'm so glad that it's finally out. I actually ended up making the trailer an ad because I really want people to see it, and the series is doing fairly well because of it. Looking at the comments, it seems a lot of people loved the series. There was also a lot of really good feedback on what I could do to improve. I was a little baffled by some people who seemed to be enjoying the series because it was sort of charmingly bad. Nonetheless, I was grateful that they seemed to like the show, even if it wasn't for the reasons I wanted them to. And that's pretty much it. That's how I ended up spending 4 years of my life making Halo Fireteam Expendable. A lot of you who enjoyed the show are probably wondering if I'll make a season 2. I'll be releasing a follow-up video to this one detailing my plans for the series, and will also be asking for your feedback on how I go about it. But for now, I'll just say yes, I have every intention of making a second season for the series. However, I would really appreciate it if you guys would consider donating to my Patreon. I am yet to get my first patron, so it would honestly really make my day if someone considered becoming one, even if it's the lowest tier. Just $1 a month makes all the difference for me, and will allow me to invest more money into Season 2. I'll be posting some deleted scenes and some behind the scenes footage, and frequently post progress updates on each episode that I'm making. Anyway, that's it for today's video. If you liked it, then please consider liking the video, and if you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel and click that notification bell next to it, so that you get notified of every video that I make. So thanks so much for watching, and peace out.